Hello, welcome to the Parents and Caregivers as Partners Conference with the Toronto District School Board. My name is Amanda Ewell, and you are at the session Helping Children on the Autism Spectrum Make Friends. This session is being recorded for your information, and also there is a interpretation and translation available at the bottom of your screen. You can click it if you need it. I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is situated upon the traditional territories. These territories include the Wendat, the Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit and the Métis Nation. I would also like to recognize the enduring presence of Aboriginal peoples on this land. Okay, I'd like to start with this quote. It's by John Elder Robinson from his autobiography, Look Me in the Eye. He is a very famous autistic man. He was the person who helped the band Kiss set their guitars on fire, which makes me kind of laugh. He says, I can't speak for other kids, but I'd like to be very clear about my own feelings. I did not ever want to be alone. And all those child psychologists who said, John prefers to play by himself, were dead wrong. I played by myself because I was a failure at playing with others. I was alone, and as a result of my own limitations, and being alone was one of the bitterest disappointments of my young life. And I think every child, of course, is different. But many, many children do want friends and just have difficulty making them. There's a study in 2018 by Krieger et al., and they found that adolescents mostly wanted friends. But I think who needs a study to tell us that? We know that our students, that our children want friends. So I am a teacher with the Toronto District School Board, and I'm also an author. And the information from this session is coming from my latest book. Oh, but I don't think you can see it. What's the difference? Building on autism, strengths, skills, and talents in your classroom. It's a book for teachers. So if you're wanting more information, you can definitely look there. It's in the chapter Helping Autistic Children Socialize. So that is me, and I'm so glad you're here today. I really actually think that each parent, each caregiver is the expert on their child. And so I kind of see this like a meeting of the experts, right? And we're gonna maybe just share information that may help. And because all children are different, we know that like some information may help our child and some information may not. And my hope is today you'll find one or two really great ideas for your child. Okay, so when we're helping our autistic children get friends, make friends, be friends, the first question is, how do they find a friend? Just finding one is such a difficult thing. And I think all children, it's so good for all children to have at least one friend at school. And school is maybe the most obvious place where our children are going to find friends. But I think sometimes, our child goes into a class and maybe they don't have any friends in that class. And so they go through the year without a friend. And there's lots of ways at school to sort of increase that circle, increase their circle of socialization, where they may find someone who's more similar to them, right? So the first thing is obviously speaking with the teacher. The teacher is going to sit them beside students who maybe have similar interests, who are able to talk with them, right? So if your child is having a hard time finding a friend at school, for sure, you want to go to the teacher and let them know this is important to you, to your child, to your family. That's one of the things you'd like. And then the other thing is, often children find it easier to be friends with younger children. So you might want to inquire, are there reading buddies? Is my child reading to someone who's younger than them? Or is there maybe one period a week where they can go and help in a kindergarten class or in a grade 2 class, or, pick a grade where they could still have a friend, right? If they're 6 and 7, they may want to be looking at, 5 and 6-year-olds, a couple of years younger, right? Oftentimes we just need to expand the circle. Or if there's 2 grade 4 classes and they're in one, we can encourage our child, look into the children in the other class. When you're young, you really think like the children in your own class are the only people that you can play with at school. And so we want to sort of increase the circle where they're looking. That's the first thing we want to do at school. So 2 years ago, I taught online, and one of my autistic students, I don't know, one of my typical students, so one of my neurotypical students had a best friend who was autistic. And he told me, my best friend is autistic and we play together and he comes over to my house. And so, there's lots of students like who are just very eager to have friends. It may seem at first it's a little difficult. And I do want to say it really is the first few years at school can be very difficult. If you have a young child, a young autistic child who's maybe grade 1, I want to let you know that when they're young, we're still figuring out what works for them, what doesn't work, what's great, what's not great. But by the time they get to grade 5 and 6, a lot of it's a lot easier. So if you're really struggling, I want to let you know there is light at the end of the tunnel. It does get easier as they get older, oftentimes. So, and just maybe nobody said this to you recently, but you're doing a great job. Like we all do the best we can for our children, and there's always difficulties. And I think the fact that you're here at this session just speaks to how well you're doing as a parent and as a caregiver. Thank you so much. Okay, the second place that we can find a friend for help our autistic children find friends is in the community. And so there's lots of really great organizations and activities in the community, and some are very, very cheap, and some offer assistance if you can't afford it. So the City of Toronto has, gymnastics and dance lessons and swim lessons and drum clubs and like anything your child is interested in, right? Does your child like to eat? Put them in a cooking class. Does your child like to watch TV? Put them in a drama club, right? Like it doesn't have to be, oh, they run, so I'm going to put them in a running club, although that's excellent. But if you're having trouble, like everyone likes to eat, try the cooking class. And try a lot of different ones. If the first one doesn't work out, there's so many different ones. That's one of the great things about living in Toronto. One of the really great places in Toronto in our community is called Variety Village. Variety Village is in South Scarborough, and they are an inclusive sports complex. From newborns to seniors, children, teens, young adults, everyone can go and find inclusive activities there. My nephews, who are neurotypical, were part of their basketball program for many, many years. So I want to let you know that all of the resources I mentioned here are going to be on my resource page at the end of the slide deck. And please feel free to take pictures of my slide deck. If you don't want to forget something, just take a little picture. That would be totally fine. So in the community is art, like there's just so many things in the community. The next place that your child can find friends is online. Now, of course, if our children are younger, we want to be careful because anyone can be online saying they're anyone. So if you have younger children, you want to stick with organizations that are well known, that already have safety supports in place. So for example, the Boy Scouts or the Girl Guides or the YMCA, very well known organizations have online activities for children, right? And so again, like maybe there's a book club, maybe there's a manga club. Those are the cartoons. If you're not sure what manga is, lots of young kids really love them. So anything that your child loves, there is a club for it. If you have an adolescent and they're having difficulty finding friends, there is a really great website called wrongplanet.net. That is also on my resource page at the end. You can take a picture of it when we get there. And it is by autistic people for autistic people. And there are forums you can go in and be a part of. And there are forums about everything. How to make friends is one of the forums. Eye contact, what to do about itchy clothes. But there's also forums just about interest, like there's recipes and cooking clubs, and there's, just a wide variety of forums that your child can join and find other autistic teens that are dealing with the same thing, dating or, how do I eat foods that I don't hate? Textures of foods bother me. How do I deal with that? And there's just so many places online for our students to find friends, our children to find friends. Okay. Next. So let's say your child has found someone who wants to be their friend. But some of the problem is they don't know how to be friends. How do you be a friend? So we're going to help our children with how do we start? Like, how do we start a friendship? Um, and so probably many of you know this, but on YouTube and other places online, there are things called social stories. So social stories. And what a social story is, especially on YouTube, but it can also be in a book. On YouTube, it's a video that shows you how to do something. It's short, it's step by step. And the idea is that your child can watch it again and again and again. So for example, if you're in elementary school, your child, and they want to join a group of kids playing tag, but they don't know how to do that, right? So a social story may teach them, you go up to someone and say, "Can I play?" Right? 'Cause they may not know how to do that. Or if they're an adolescent and they're sitting in the cafeteria at lunch and there's all these people sitting around them in the cafeteria and they would like to eat with someone, but they don't know how you start that, right? So there'll be a social story online they can watch that might teach them how to go over to a group of people and say, "May I sit here?" And if they say no, you go to the next group. "May I sit here?" Like that, right? So knowing how to start a friendship, how do you start talking with someone is a skill they may not know. And that might be the only piece they're missing. They might know who they want to be friends with. And once they figure out how to say, "Can I play?" or "Can I join you?" then they're off to the races, right? So that might just be the one key for one child. Um, Next, maybe they find somebody who's willing to let them sit with them at lunch, but they're not sure how to find common ground. So they're sitting there quietly, waiting for somebody to say something. So we're going to teach our child, tell them what you're interested in. So they might say, "Oh, I really like the manga Naruto." Or they might say, "I really like the video game Fortnite." Or they might say, "I love running." So the other thing we can do to help our children is to look for people who have similar interests to them. So let's say there's a child who loves running, not playing tag, just running, right? So we can help them. We can say, at recess, look for other students who are running. Or we could help them by saying, "Why don't you join the cross country club?" Or we could help them by saying, "Is there a track team at the school?" Right? So we're going to help our students figure out, how do we find people who have common ground with us? Um, and maybe our autistic child is nonverbal. And so then we're going to make sure that they have pictures of the things they love. So we can make sure if they use an iPad, that on the iPad is a picture of running or a picture of the Naruto manga they're reading, right? Or if they have the flip pictures, that one of those flip pictures is running. So they can point to running and show people what it is that they like. Then the next thing is, okay, they found a friend, they found common ground, but maybe they don't know what to do next. So at recess, they're running with their running partner, and then they go back to class, and the only time they see their friend is at recess running. Or maybe they're a teen, and at lunch, they sit with all the people who love manga, but then they never talk with them outside of that lunch period. So we're going to teach our children, right, once they have a computer, that they can email their friends, and once they have a phone, that they can text their friends. Now, there is something to say here about texting, because sometimes our autistic children don't know that you're not supposed to text every 5 minutes. And that can be really overwhelming. Or maybe their friend is texting them every 5 minutes, and that's overwhelming for them, right? So we're going to help them say, this is what friends do. Friends talk about how much they want to text, right? So we can maybe help them with, like, write a little note for them. "I would like to text once a day," that they can give to their friend. Right? So what do friends do? Friends call each other on the phone, friends text, friends email each other, friends get together on the weekends, right? So maybe if we notice that there's somebody that our younger child is hanging around with, we can talk with the other parent to make a play date for them. And maybe we can talk with that parent about how the play date's going to go. "Would you mind coming to our house? We don't have any loud noises at our house." And we can let the parent know that, we need to have maybe quieter voices when we're playing with my child. So we're going to help them know, what do friends do? Okay. Next, how to keep a friend. Okay, sometimes we encounter like difficult situations with our friends. And Often younger kids and also sometimes adults think that when you have a fight with your friend, they're no longer friends. And I'm sure you've heard this before. Uh, I'm not your friend, right? That's what the students might say to each other. Or sometimes at home we hear, I hate you, right? Like they're so angry, they're never going to talk to us again. And that happens in their friendships too, right? They're really angry and they don't know how to get past that. So we're going to help our children with conflict resolution. So maybe we notice that we haven't been hearing about a friend. They had a friend, Jahim, and we heard about Jahim every day. But for the last week, we haven't heard about Jahim, right? So we might just want to ask, oh, how's your friend Jahim? Right? Because they might be really upset and not want to talk about it, or they might not think that there's any way to fix that. So why would they talk with us? So it's okay for us to ask them, how is your friend Jahim? And we can help our children by telling them it is okay to be angry at friends and you can still be friends, right? We want to let them know that they can tell their friend, I felt hurt when you, and we're going to make sure we know to help them with the I statements, right? I felt blank when you blank, right? Instead of saying, you called me an idiot, you're not nice, right? Like that's not as likely to result in a friendship as saying, I felt hurt when you called me an idiot, right? So we're going to help our children with conflict resolution. And now sometimes our adolescents, they don't want our help, right? They don't want our help. Uh, they're having a trouble with conflict resolution, but they don't really need our help. That's what they think. In this case, we can have a conversation, not to them, but in their hearing about a conflict we're having with one of our friends or a conflict we had, right? So maybe I speak with my husband or I speak with a friend on the phone in the hearing of my teen about a trouble I had with a friendship and how I overcame it. That way we're not like, preaching to them but it's just a sort of a way to get around, the whole I don't need your help, but still we're helping them. And we're not like directly confronting them with that, which might be helpful for them. Sometimes there's friends that move away and our children can be so sad about that. And sometimes in their minds, they feel that that's the end. They'll never see that friend again or hear from that friend again. And so we can let them know that we'll help them Skype with them online or FaceTime or WhatsApp, whatever app that they're using with their friend, If they're not too far away, we can arrange dates for them to get together again. We can talk with them about pen pals. What is a pen pal? That's kind of old fashioned. Used to be that you wrote letters to each other on paper and mailed it. Oh my goodness, that's so old fashioned now. But nowadays it can just be emails where you write emails back and forth, right? And maintain a friendship. And that might also be helpful for our children. The last thing that our children need to know to keep a friend is that it takes work. Now, often, if it's a good friend, it doesn't take that much work, but still, we need to make sure that they know how to initiate the playtime. If their friend is always initiating the texting or the talking, that can be difficult. And so we can say to our children, friendships take work. Have you said to that person, how are you? Have you said, hey, let's play? Right? So we can sort of cue them to do some of the work of friendship. Okay, last page. Here's the resources page that I was telling you about. The one autobiography that I mentioned at the beginning is called Look Me in the Eye, Look Me in the Eye by John Elderson Robinson. This autobiography is called Born on a Blue Day. And it's a man who tells his life as an autistic child. And especially he talks about how difficult it was when he was younger and how it got easier getting older. Born on a Blue Day does the same thing. So I think that can be really encouraging for our children. There's a picture book called All Cats Have Asperger's Syndrome that's really great if your child wants to introduce autism to their friends. It's very easy to understand, very low risk, very fun. This is the website I talked about, wrongplanet.net, especially great for teens and young adults, I think. My book is there, What's the Difference? Building on Autism, Strengths, Skills, and Talents in Your Classroom. And then the organizations, I already mentioned Variety Village. And the last one I want to mention is called Surrey Place. Surrey Place is a place where you can get a lot of support for parents, a lot of support. They support people in school and outside of school as well. So if you're looking for places to get more support, that's one of the places I would recommend going. So that's all for our session today. I wanted to say thank you so much for coming. If you have questions or comments, you can find me online. You can see my book there. I have a website, amandayule.com. Please feel free to reach out to me through the website and email me. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm going to end the meeting.